I just finished The Will of the Many, and it was a really beautiful book. As you can tell, it's well loved, and I absolutely loved it. And this book is inherently a critique of classism in general. So first, like obviously, it starts off. It starts off with, it sets its themes. It it knows what it wants to do. The book knows, the author knows what he wants to do with this book, and he starts it off with that vision, with the Cadenan rankings before page one to solidify that classist system that they're gonna be that the people are gonna be put in. Before that, even in the first chapter, how the Ulthazor or the visitor then just addresses the other prison guard with his rank. His rank is supposed to now define the whole person, and that decides the worth that they hold in the system that they're in. And it's great because this can sometimes this sometimes can reflect the real world, with how money and status are like indicators of how much worth a person has right now. uh, if you have a lot of money, and the people that are working for you or that are below you only exist as cogs in this machine to serve you, or and then you might serve somebody else. It's all rankings, it's a hierarchy. And I love how he doesn't try to hide the critique of classism that he's doing here. It's amazingly done. I'm in love with James Islington's way of writing, the themes that he wants to convey, the messages that he wants to convey. And people in this have lost their humanity. They're in this dystopian, they don't even realize they're in dystopian, which is why it's uh, really concerning. They're in this dystopian world where their will is the most important thing that they can have, but they have to cede half of it to the person above them, and then so on and so forth, right? and and the pyramid motif, like the recurring pyramid references, like everything is a pyramid, with the religion pyramid, the governance pyramid. Was it the government? Yeah, some, I think. And then the military pyramid. They're all class. Like the pyramid is the symbol of classism in the first place. So, love how he's not hiding anything there. It's good symbolism, and yeah. Uh, but then it starts off with uh that happening, and then uh there's this orphan who doesn't really fit into any of the uh doesn't fit into the pyramid whatsoever. He's an outsider, just looking into the system, that despises the system that has been set up, and he's just doing anything to get out of it, but then gets adopted by uh by Quintus the Ulcizor, and now he has to go to the school, and it's really good. I loved the ending. The ending was truly blew me away. I still have. I'm not sure I completely understand the ending anyway. I'm probably gonna have to get to book 2 at some point in the future, but I have other works to get to before that. But just had to read some fantasy to serve as like a palate cleanser before I dive into some of the other books. So right now I am a bit ways through Schopenhauer, so not the most lighthearted read, I would say. But yes, getting back to The Will of the Many, yeah. And oh, absolutely loved how he portrays this theme of classism and this theme of superiority that people have over others in the system, and he's trying to convey that there's people in power that they can basically do anything that they want, right? Osazor kills a guy with a wave of his hand. That's how easy it is for these people that are in power right now, the uh, people that are in power right now, to just eliminate somebody that they don't like or eradicate somebody that they don't like, and they don't serve any consequences for it, just because of the status they hold, of the money they have, or in this case, the will that they possess. His status as a Quintus doesn't matter, and if he like goes against birthright, it's called, think, which is that every person has worth in the system. If he goes against birthright as a Quintus, nothing happens to him, which is really interesting because he's transcended the law because of the will that he has. And yeah, and then I love how that there's these three pyramids that are battling for power, and then there's these innocents that are victims of it. And with how, if you've not read the book, then don't just don't watch anymore. But um if when you read the book, then the military pyramid kills a lot of people in the Naumachia for their own purpose so that they can take over the religion pyramid and make their own weapon and stuff like that. The Angui, I don't know. But the Angui just serve, like, they're a terrorist group, yes. But they're paid and bought by the people in the government. They're bought to kill, they're bought by the government to kill their own people so that the government can reach and they can reach their goals, they can further their own goals. So it just goes to show that these people in power don't really care about the people that they have power over. They it doesn't matter to them. It's a small price to pay to lose the people in their pyramids and something like that. And the enemies are just distractions, right? they're not they're not the real enemy. They're not the real enemy. The real enemy is not the small terrorist groups or the people who are just doing small crimes or like like killing a few people. That's not the enemy right now. The enemy is the system that they've set up, the hierarchy based system that they set up, where your will defines everything. And the people who are at the top of this pyramid, the ultra uh, um, people who have a lot of will, hold power over everything, and they decide uh, who the people perceive to be their enemy. And then, oh yeah, uh, uh, what was it? Yes, the distractions that are set for the people with the Naumachia as well. The birthright doesn't really matter there because it's funded by the government. So birthright is it's just like an illusory concept created by the government so that people won't really step out of line when the government does not care about it. It's not a real thing in the first place. But the Naumachia is also a distraction for the people to keep them engaged, keep them numb, keep them from thinking too hard about what the hierarchy really is doing. The Octavi know that they're being exploited, yet they do nothing about it. Uh, well, and then I wanted to talk about the Academy as well, how it's so cutthroat. Justice isn't really a thing here. The school reflects the real world as it is. And it's interesting how the school has to be set up in this way that it results in the abandoning of friends. It results in uh, it results in using other methods to get to a higher class. Also, like the hierarchy thing there, you have to use other methods to get to a higher class. It doesn't necessarily. It's not because of hard work. The hard work does not matter. I mean, it does matter, but not really. There's so much more that goes into this system. Hard work, sure, but cunningness, connections, the family that you're born in, just luck in general as well. How much does the government favor you? Do you have opinions that are favored by the government? Are you part of lineages that are favored by the government? Do you have money to like build your own labyrinth, right? If Okay, so yes, Viz is very talented, but without Ulcizor's money and resources, uh, he would not have gotten close as far as he did. And I love how Islington just goes to show that well, yes, Viz is talented, but talent doesn't matter unless it's supported by like money and power and resources and connections. And even with Relucia, like uh killing the kid in class 5, was it, so that Viz could advance to it, or maybe it was class 4, I forget, but yes. And uh um oh yeah, I wanted to talk about the Anguis, I don't even know, their philosophy on not uh their reason as to do that they do what they do. There was a really interesting line in the book where it was, uh yeah, sure, like uh a few people might have killed your parents, but it was the will of the many that supported them, or something like that. And I love how that shows that the people who are not in power, these people that are just getting exploited day in and day out, like the octavi and the septimi and the sexti, even, they're complicit in the actions of the principus, the principi, or the dimidi, or was it dimidi? Yeah, the dimidi and the tertii. They are complicit in their actions. Like, uh, sure, they're not exactly like carrying out the the actions themselves, but they're giving them the resources and the power. They're giving the people in power the resources necessary to be able to do the things that they do. It is not the actions of a few people that really matter here. It's the whole system as it's set up. It is not the it is not just like these few people that decide what goes on, and they have uncontrolled power over everybody. It's the people who are not in power that give the power. These are the people who actually really hold the power, and they choose. They don't choose, but they do technically choose to give it. They choose to be complicit with the system. They choose to follow the system, and they give power to these who then commit heinous acts. And the question that the Viz wrestles with is, should everybody be punished because they are complicit with the system? They know that this is wrong. They probably could, very not realistic, they probably could it rebel against it in some form, but they choose not to. They choose to live in the system. They choose to support the system because living in it is supporting it in this case. And by supporting it, are they indirectly to blame for the actions? If a principus, if the quintus waves his hand and kills somebody, is the octavi in the pyramid responsible for it in some way or form? Was the question that Viz was concerned with. And it's really interesting because, well, yes, to be blunt, yes, the octavi is responsible for it. Yes, he should have rebelled. Yes, he or she should have rebelled against the system, but they don't because, well, they don't necessarily have the resources to rebelling in any form results in probably death in this case, because the hierarchy is really good at that. And to show any form of rebellion against the system would probably just ruin your life in the sense, because rebellion doesn't work if one person does it. Sure, yes, they could be a martyr, they could be like a motivator, but the first person that rebels, and if she's the only one that's rebelling, it's just a precursor. It's just that's not gonna work. Rebellion against the system only works if everybody, or most of the people in this lower class, does it. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. And such uh to form such associations is an extremely hard thing to do. especially in a world where just showing any disdain for the government is probably good enough to land you in a sapper or the prison, yes. And uh, my personal thoughts about this would be I don't think, I think it's more important to keep the people informed. And well, yes, as information isn't going to help anybody, uh, I think rebelling is very necessary. Yes, they are to blame, but I don't think they should uh, necessarily, like, the punishment shouldn't be death. It should be like, I don't know. I have no idea. I really have no idea. I'm looking into a few philosophies, a few opinions of about this. I am reading the Malcolm X autobiography right now just to see how, like, he was very radical. He was a very radical speaker, and he wasn't necessarily like sunshine and rainbows. Martin Luther King, on the other hand, he was nonviolent, peaceful protest. Yes, 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 and it did work. It did work. It's a very important skill to have, to peacefully protest and to peacefully gain support and negotiate with people and with the people in power as he did. But Malcolm X's views aren't necessarily uh he's not a peaceful person, right? And I've just been reading his book and like looking at how his experiences shaped him, and then I come back to this. And should everybody be blamed? Should everybody be punished um for being complicit with the system? Uh and I think one of the advisors that of Viz's father came up with a good solution to this. It was where you're living in the system, so you can't necessarily hate everybody, or and that because that's just not sustainable, and not everybody really knows. Like, sure, yes, they believe. Sure, yes, they support the system, but they don't really know what they're supporting. To be honest, they're kept distracted and numbed by the government and into thinking that this government is like the nicest people on earth. They're not. They don't know that. The people don't know that. The people who are exploited don't necessarily have the capabilities to even know that, oh, we're being exploited and this is a horrible, horrible system. They don't necessarily are able to think that because their experiences don't really point to any of that. Yes, they're giving away half their will away, but they aren't really thinking about what this giving away of will is really doing to them or doing to the world. They're just doing it because they're told. And there's not really anything in their life that could result in them wanting to rebel because the system's just been working. It's been keeping them going. So there's just not really anything outside of this for them. So I don't think everybody should be punished because they don't really know what they're doing in the first place. It's very important to keep them informed, and I think more people would be uh, against this if that would happen. Oh, and then I've written here. I loved the Relucia plot twist. That was insane to me. I was lost. I was so excited. I was like, who is the mother gonna be? Who is the mother gonna be? And it turns out to be her, and I was like, that's insane. That's really insane. And oh yeah, so should the politicians be punished or should the people be punished? Well, I think I already dealt with that. The politicians should definitely be punished. There's no question about that. There's just nothing you can do about it. There's no going about over it. And do people have a moral obligation to rebel? Um, if you know what's going on, I do think you have an obligation to rebel. And yes, if you are trying to gain something out of the system, you are inherently supporting the system. And if you do know what's going on, you are complicit. And yes, you should be punished for that. Punishment. I don't know really how you're gonna go about it, but yes. And it's not really I have no idea how that would work. I am not really well versed with capital punishment or even law, I guess. But yeah, no, this was truly a really fun read. Will of the Many, I highly recommend it. This was a 4-star read for me. 4-star only because it's the first book, and it was just a 4-star for me. I really liked it though, and I think a lot of people will. It truly is beautiful. Well, yeah, I'm gonna get to The Strength of the Few in a while. I still have a lot to read here. Right now, however, I am kind of in the middle of a few books. Schopenhauer, as I said, and I have Malcolm X somewhere over there, I think. Yeah, and I am also reading this beauty of a book, Count of Monte Cristo. I'm halfway through it now. And I'm also in the middle of Cosmos. Yes, I am a mood reader. Yes, I know. I'm reading a lot of books. However, after Schopenhauer and Malcolm X, I'm going to be getting to Project Hail Mary because the movie's coming out, and I really want to read it. Because reading the book is obviously superior to the movie. I feel like everybody should know that by now. And then I think I'm gonna get into memoirs, so stay tuned, I guess. But yes, very fun book. Highly recommend it. See y'all.